as regarding the wildlife clearances, which is done under the Wildlife Protection Act, I'll just cover what are the basic provisions under the Act. What are the Supreme Court orders which has come over a period of time with specific reference to the wildlife clearances? What is the process flow? I know many of you must be knowing it, but I again want to reiterate what is the process flow for submission of these wildlife clearances, and then specifically what are the main concerns we actually see when proposals come in from many line ministries and user agencies, and how that can be smoothened up going forward, so that the time limit in scrutinizing and in clearances can be fastened. Now, under the entire provision of the Wildlife Protection Act, I'm not going to the details of the Act. The National Board of Wildlife, in fact, what are those areas in which what are those protected areas in which wildlife clearance is required, especially in the case of mining? In fact, there are 4 categories. One is the national parks. The second category is the sanctuaries. The third one is tiger reserves. Some of the tiger reserves are also, many of them, they overlap with any of the first two categories, whether it may be a sanctuary or a national park. And the fourth category is also a tiger corridor. In fact, there are a lot of designated tiger corridors across the country. Now, if any proposals come within these particular 4 categories, the proposal has to go to an authority. It's a statutory body. It is called as the National Board of Wildlife. In fact, National Board of Wildlife is constituted under the Act. This is a body which is chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister of India. There are a host of ministers within this National Board. Now, what does the board do? The board actually gives advisories on and policy directions on implementation of conservation, wildlife conservation across the country. They have the power to give clearances within the for any development project or infrastructure project which is supposed to come up within these wildlife space. Of examining the cases relating to wildlife and these protected areas is actually delegated to the standing committee, because the National Board of Wildlife wouldn't give ample time for examining these cases. So the entire delegation of powers for examining these cases is coming to the National Board of Wildlife. Now, what is the applicability of wildlife clearances? Which are those areas, in fact, will come under the purview of a wildlife clearance? A, it's a wildlife sanctuary, which has been, it's a declared, notified sanctuary, and currently we have over, probably around more than 550 wildlife sanctuaries declared across the country. Tiger reserves, there are almost around 55 tiger reserves currently, and national parks. We have more than 100 national parks which are declared across the country. And there are also tiger corridors. So these are the 4. We also have other community reserves and conservation reserves, but so for the wildlife clearance's sake of this, these are the areas which will come within the gamut of the protected areas of the country. Now, also all those projects or activities which is defined in the EA notification of the host of activities which has been defined, all those activities will also come within the purview of wildlife clearances, and also activities which are there in the eco-sensitive zones which have been notified. Now, as you are aware, in any sanctuary or national park, the area outside these national parks and sanctuaries are declared as an eco-sensitive zone. So there are a lot of regulations which have been incorporated into that particular buffer area of a sanctuary or national park. So any area which is already notified as an eco-sensitive zone, then the regulations will apply. If, let us say, for a particular sanctuary or national park, the eco-sensitive zone is not notified, then automatically a 10-kilometer default comes into play. That means, let us say, if a state is notified for a particular wildlife sanctuary wherein the buffer eco-sensitive zone distance is around 5 kilometers, then the regulations will only apply within that 5 kilometers. In the event that many cases the final notifications are not yet come, then there is a default 10 kilometer distance from the boundary of the sanctuary and national park. So these are all the areas in which the applicability of wildlife clearance is required. Now, parallelly, apart from the Wildlife Protection Act, over a period of time, the Honorable Supreme Court has also come out with a host range of orders on projects falling within the purview of these protected areas. So I know that most of you must be knowing this. There is a complete prohibition on mining in any sanctuaries and national park. There is a complete ban on mining within an area of 1 kilometer from a national park or a sanctuary, irrespective of whether an eco-sensitive zone is notified or not. So irrespective of that, there is a complete ban on mining from 1 kilometer. And wherever in fact in many cases, the notified eco-sensitive zone is less than 1 kilometer. In some cases it is even 0 kilometer. In some cases it is a 500 meter. But for those areas also, the Honorable Supreme Court has said that the no mining area will extend up to a distance of 1 kilometer from the boundary of the sanctuary of the national park. So these are the three categories: the complete prohibition of mining from within a national park and a sanctuary, or a prohibition of mining within 1 kilometer of a sanctuary of national park. And even if an eco-sensitive zone is declared, which is less than 1 kilometer, it will automatically extend up to a distance of 1 kilometer. And of course, all proposals which require an environment clearance will also, within the eco-sensitive zones of sanctuaries and national park, also will come up for wildlife clearances.
So these are certain considerations which are to be addressed by the project proponents, by the central government, that is NYFCC, by state governments and central government combinedly, and the state government. With regard to the concerns to be addressed by the project proponents, certain observations found out by the project monitoring unit of our Ministry of Coal in submitting the proposals in Parivesh or obtaining the approvals. Certain variations were found in the details entered by the proponents in different fields. So that variation will be pointed out automatically in Parivesh, so that in future or in some further processing it will be difficult for them. So kindly recheck the details entered once or twice, so that same details are entered at every point. Next is certain documents were uploaded mistakenly or erratically. Instead of mining plan, PFR, or in some other document uploaded, kindly check the relevant documents so that the same will be uploaded and there won't be any problem in future while processing the proposal. So with regard to forest land, so there is a dispensation given by MOFCC for exploratory drilling. Up to 25 boreholes can be drilled within an area of 10 square kilometers. Within that, only NOC is required, but some of the proponents are mistakenly approaching MOFCC for the forest clearance. So they may very well process and progress only for the sake of NOC. Next, coming to the challenges or issues faced which are to be addressed at MOFCC level. With regard to exploration activity, as you all are kindly aware, many of the coal blocks allocated by Ministry of Coal do have the timeline for compliance. So as per the agreements, they are supposed to complete the exploration within 15 months of allotment of the block. But in many of the cases, even getting the forest clearance itself is taking 1.5 to 2 years. Proposals may be hastened or processed with little speed so that exploration activity can be done within specified time. So next is the major problem that is being faced by many of the coal block proponents, where after the forest clearance proposal coming right up to MFCC, some discrepancies were found with regard to either CA land or the forest land. So the forest land or CA land, when examined through DSS at the central level or MFCC level, they are identified. But these proposals are being forwarded right from the DFO level to state government level after scrutiny at various levels. If this is rejected or any EDS is raised on account of any anomaly, it is taking not less than 6 months to reprocess and identify and all those things. So the kind request is to have the validation at very first level so that the proponents need not waste this much of time. So to that extent, the request was made to UniCC. They have clarified that DSS facility has already been extended to state government authorities also. So then I request UniCC and state government authorities to enforce that verification or validation through DSS right at the bottommost level. No land available in and around the coal block. So the coal block collectivities are forced to plan the dumping in the forest land. So this basically dumping of any OB adjacent to the coal mine is the environmental requirement apart from safety and other considerations of economic viability. So accordingly, we request MFCC to kindly look into and on case-to-case basis to consider this OB dumping in forest land. So there is again a request to all the coal block collectivities, as rightly pointed out by our Secretary Sir. So please do diligence to avoid any forest land for OB dumping. In case if it is so warranted and if there is no other alternative, then only try to plan so that the same can be justified and put forth before MFCC. So in some cases, the forest land proposals are linked with each other. In one case, linking of exploration proposal with the mining activity proposal. Both have different timelines and one of the complaints cannot be linked to another one. And in one case, FC1 of one proposal was linked to the FC1 proposal complaints of the same allotment for the different project. And in one case, or in some cases of Coal India Limited, the complaints of the forest diverted for the same project is linked with the new proposal submitted. Because these complaints is sometimes is linked to the state government with regard to the complying the conditions. The request of the coal sector is to delink the proposals and to independently examine the forest diversion proposals. Taking some time in the state government. So the request of the coal sector is to issue the FC2 and insist upon the notification before the handover of the land so that the procedure will be comfortable and state government would be able to do that notification. All are happy from coal sector, but the only concern expressed by coal sector is the cost to be levied or the 2% or 0.5% of the cost whatever is proportionate to the project may be dispensed off and it may be linked with the forest land diverted. Because in some of the projects having high capital cost, it is costing or burdening the proponents hugely, and in the small projects there is no problem, but for the bigger projects it is costing to the proponents. That's why in line with the linear projects, the same may be linked with the forest land diverted.
कंजर्वेशन तो बनाना है, वही वो तो बनाना ही है उसका तो रहेगा। May I invite Shri Marupalli, sir, Director Ministry of Food for the Women.